We'll move on to our next speaker, Dr. Shobhit Chawla. And Sir also does not need any introduction. He is also teacher of teachers, and he, by his, he is one of the pioneer of our Vitreoretina Society. And with his all support and his contribution today, the Vitreoretina Society, what we are seeing now, he is here. And Sir is currently presently president of Vitreoretina Society. Sir.
So, this small presentations and video sums up my philosophy of treatment of myopic macular traction maculopathy. This is a young female. She came with this kind of picture to me, and with the MMT, the vision in the left eye was 612, and we could identify an area of traction temporal to the fovea, and the fovea had just developed schisis. I explained the patient the possibility of surgery, but I was not very enthusiastic. At this stage, I also told her to wait. A young patient, 612 vision. He was having visual symptoms, but I told her we can definitely watch for a couple of months. She came. She could not come earlier. She came 1 year later with this picture, 636 vision, and the traction had become more, and this myopic macular schisis also had gone up. And then we did a surgery, which I like to routinely do in these cases, rather than I'm not that much a proponent of macular buccal surgery. Even if no hole is associated, or even if a hole is associated, I like to do this technique. What I do, whatever you want to call it, I call it the envelope flap technique. I like to fortify the cystic area of the fovea with a couple of flaps. I make the flaps small. I may or may not peel over the maculopapular area that much. In this case, I have done. Then I go to where the traction was, because here later on the traction has also developed on the nasal side. Here it was clinically visible, the traction as a ridge on the ILM, and I did a wide peel and a temporal relaxing ILM peel. And just left the patient with 20% sulfur hexafluoride. And this was our picture 1 week post-operatively. The traction had gone, and a fairly good result. ILM flaps could be seen in the post-operative, and 3 weeks later, visual acuity was 618 plus. And last I saw her, she had regained her 612 vision and was still improving and totally asymptomatic. So this is my current technique for quite a few cases. My first 3 cases I had done non-foveal sparing peel, but now I do a foveal flap peel rather than a foveal sparing peel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's an excellent surgery. Sir, there are 2 questions to you first. One is, you have done a much more larger size of peeling compared to a standard macro hole technique. So is it to have a more relaxation for this myopic traction?
If you see my second OCT, it shows widespread traction. And actually, I could clinically see the traction under the microscope when I was putting the light, that the ILM was under stretch and traction. So I like to always, in my macular hole also, I believe that if you relax the temporal raphe area better, your failure rate, which is already quite less, is even less. And that gives there is a philosophy which says there is a retinal shift which takes place when you're closing a hole. And I feel it is better, and the surface tension effect of the gas bubble is also.
A quick comment there, Rupak, is that in these cases, the myopia, because of the myopia, the AP traction, anteroposterior traction, much more. You see on the OCT, some of these cases are like you're sitting in a well. And so you need to relax that traction by increasing the peeling area as much as is possible to a wider extent, arcade to arcade if possible. As Dr. Shobhit said, you see very often the traction going, the skies is going right across up to the temporal areas. So this is in fact one of the most difficult surgeries, if you ask me.
I've done eight cases with this technique and 3 with the non-foveal sparing, and I found the results of this technique very consistent. And I feel like in optic pit in a skytic fovea, at times we develop a hole. When it settles down, those flaps in place safeguard you against that.
I think this was the second question, that whether combining with macular buckle will help in these kind of cases, or primarily a macular buckle itself can help in this myopic tract MMT.
I'm sure primary macular buckle, for those who do it, there is one surgeon, I'm forgetting his name, at SN, who's routinely doing macular buckle.
Actually, Pradeep could not join us. Pradeep was also in the list today, so I wanted him to be here.
And also Dr. Carlos Mateo, whose surgery I have watched.
I'm so sorry, I think
Barcelona also routinely does it, but he combines it with an island and with a buckle, and of complete vitrectomy with island. But
Yeah,
Pradeep sir, thank you so much.
I think we'll have the biosimilar section now.
I have found
Srinivas,
that
you need to be muted.
It's been divided into 2 in the same thing. One is the glaucoma and next one is the biosimilar. That's what I said. Yeah.
Srinivas, you need
Just
to
your
mute.
voice is a little not clear.
And I just wanted to ask.
Can you put Srinivas's mute, please?
Srinivas is too.
Okay, Dr. Ajay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask Shobhit one question, which we've done about 8 cases now where we've had this, but we always want to do biometry first. If the length of the eyeball is more than 28 to 29, so 30 millimeters, then I've done 3 cases of macular buckle which we fabricated ourselves. My question to you is that if you have a posterior staphylomas with a myopic foveus thesis, won't a combined surgery be a better alternative than doing just this thing? Because I've had failure with a posterior staphylomas with a myopic foveus thesis where a macular buckle was done with a combined vitrectomy and it worked. So this is just a question whether you follow some sort of a...
I do follow. I look at the length, and I have done with staphylomas 1 case, which had and that case was successful, and that had a small macular hole also. My flaps were quite aggressive in that, and I covered the hole well. Yes, I use silicone oil in that patient. Normally, I don't use silicone oil in these patients. It's always...
There's a wonderful paper by Pradeep which has come up in IGO this month, June.
I'll have a look.
You must see it. It's a wonderful paper where they talk about these issues and what.
Sir, Rupak sir, sorry to barge in. Just one quick question to Shobhit sir and all the panelists here. Sir, I'm also a big fan of doing fovea sparing, ILM peeling, myopic foveus cases. So recently I had a case, I did it, and that case, I did a fovea sparing. He was from 6'6", he went to 6'12". So I thought there is a diminution of vision, and it was a lamellar hole, almost causing full thickness hole. I went ahead and did a vitrectomy, fovea sparing and everything. He was doing very well for 3 months. And next, he had such a bad recurrence, his vision fell to 3/60. And he was also having staphyloma posteriorly. So I'm now regretting, why did I touch that case? Especially when there is a posterior
That was a case where you had to do a macular buckle with it. Maybe.
Yeah, so probably so that's why I brought that question. So probably when you have the more of a macular, the traction is less, and you have a more of a contour is more. So in that cases, probably you will you better to combine it with macular buckle. And if you have a more of a traction, and rather than the contour of the globe is not that curved, so probably we can get away without macular buckle.
There are some Japanese papers also to this effect, where they have followed up these patients even by doing MRIs and whether they should do a buckle or only a island surgery.
Thank you.